Top Chinese diplomat Wang Yi is expected to arrive in Moscow today for talks on a possible Ukraine peace agreement. Now, Beijing says his visit would be an opportunity to promote ties between China and Russia. And it also says that the United States is inflaming tensions with claims about China's military ties to Moscow. And for more, CNA's Lo Minmin joins us live. She's in Shanghai. Minmin, China is presenting itself as a peace broker. What leverage does it have, though, right now with Moscow to achieve that?
Well, previous attempts at peace talks have failed, and the world is now watching whether Wang Yi will be successful in brokering some sort of ceasefire in Ukraine. This after those stern warnings from the U.S. for China not to help Russia evade sanctions or provide arms to Russia. China has refuted these claims, but analysts are saying that China could indeed be considering to supply arms to Russia in an effort to prevent a larger scale defeat of Russia. That's because they said that Western military support to Ukraine has changed the calculus on the ground, and now both Russian and Ukrainian forces, none of them have any hopes of making significant advances and declaring an outright victory. And analysts say that China doesn't have an interest in seeing a heavily crippled Russia. Russia is that alternative voice on the global arena that China relies on in its effort to counter what it sees as U.S. hegemony. But that said, the cost of supplying weapons to Russia will be tremendous. It's going to attract an avalanche of sanctions against Beijing if it crosses this hard red line of the U.S. and its allies. Not to mention, it's going to make it almost impossible to find a flaw to that China-U.S. relationship.
Well, the timing of this visit is what's notable. Minmin, Wang Yi visiting Moscow on the very day that Mr. Putin is taking aim at the West in that address to Parliament. And now China's Foreign Affairs Ministry is calling on the United States to not fuel the conflict.
That's right. China says that the U.S. is not only the biggest supplier of weapons to the battlefield, it's also profiting and looting from this war, and it's now creating false information about China supplying arms to Russia. And earlier today, the Foreign Minister Qian Gang said in a speech that China has a uniquely Chinese way of addressing hotspot issues, and that includes emphasizing both the symptoms and the root causes. That suggests that although China sees it as important to respect the sovereignty of all countries, including Ukraine's, it still sees the eastward expansion of NATO towards Ukraine as a root cause and a threat that must be addressed. Now, the Foreign Ministry also said it opposes U.S.'s military ties with Taiwan, and it went on a tirade today at the Foreign Ministry briefing, listing a laundry list of how the U.S. has been pursuing hegemony in its wars in Afghanistan, in Syria, and in Iraq. And in the Chinese Communist Party's mouthpiece, People's Daily, today there was a commentary calling the U.S. to, quote, do some serious soul searching, to let go of its arrogance and prejudice, and to quit its hegemonic and bullying behavior.
The barbs thrown from either side. Minmin, thank you very much for that. Lo Minmin there speaking to us live from Shanghai.